Everybody to the Wednesday class that shall not be named as we begin the month of December. Hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving.
We did.
Excellent. As we prepare for, of course, Hanukkah, which is the next holiday, which we'll be talking about today. We'll make this our Hanukkah discussion day. And hope everybody had a good one. So, welcome to Michael and David and Lou and Eva and Arlene and Ron and Diana and Arnold, who are
Hello, good morning.
good morning. So we're going to talk about this amazing holiday called Hanukkah coming up, and we'll talk about the origins and the evolution, which we try and talk about every year or the other year because it's really incredibly brilliant, the story. So let's go over the story itself. I know we're familiar with it somewhat. We'll go over some more and maybe a little more details. So Alexander the Great takes over Israel, what is now Israel, in 332 BCE. So he's taken over the world. He's taken over Israel. He took it over without a shot because whenever he was fairly magnanimous. If you didn't attack him and if you capitulated, then that was it. Then he would go on to the next one. So that's what happened. They capitulated. Why did they capitulate? One, they didn't want to lose a war. Two, because the Greeks had more stuff than anybody else. The Greeks had more stuff than anybody in history. Everything we have today is based on the Greeks and religiously on Judaism. So the Greeks have a lot of stuff. They loved Alexander because he didn't do any of the city. How do we know they loved Alexander? What was my father's Hebrew name? Alexander. And Alexander's not a Hebrew name. But why is it a Hebrew name? Because 2,200 years later, we remember that Jews loved Alexander so much that there's a famous saying that for a whole generation, every male baby was called Alexander. Well, that's obviously probably not true, but it remains today a Hebrew name, even though we know it's Greek. So he dies fairly soon afterwards. And so his empire, which is fairly extensive, is broken up into several sections. I believe 5 overall, but only 2 are important for us. One is the Syrian area, which is north of Israel. The other is the Egyptian area. So the Egyptian area is controlled by Ptolemy, his general Ptolemy. It would be the Ptolemaic era in Egypt all the way for a couple hundred years until the last ruler was Cleopatra. Became obviously so famous. In the north, it would be the general Seleucid, and have the Seleucid Greek kingdom. So years later, when Israel's under control of the Seleucid kings, at times it had been under control of Egypt, we find the first, possibly ever, moment of a new atrocity. Possibly had never happened before, and that is religious persecution. So religious persecution had not been a thing yet. Why? Because I attack you, my gods are stronger than yours, you take my gods. It's very simple. My sun god can be replaced by your sun god. You know, when people persecuted, it was for land or for jealousy or for hate or for money, you know, for good things. And that is sarcasm. But now we find persecution for religion, which is fairly new. So the Seleucid king, who we know from the story, we call him Antiochus or Antiochus. And we have proof of this, obviously, because it's only 2,200 years ago. So we have the 2 books of the Maccabees, which are not in our Bible, but they are history books for us. They're in the Catholic Bible and what they call the Apocrypha. He slaughters pigs in the temple and sacrifices them to Zeus. And we know the story of the Maccabees. the Hasmonean Empire, led by first Mattathias, and then his children, led by Judah, rebel. And they eventually kick out the Syrian Greeks, which is a huge upset because the Syrian Greeks have a major empire, and the Maccabees were a small band of guerrilla fighters. We have to remember the Seleucid Greeks were dealing with another small little band of guerrilla fighters. They called themselves the Roman Empire. So that was something they had to deal with. But we also have to understand that the Hanukkah story is not just the story we tell our kids. We tell our kids the Maccabees revolted and everybody was cheering in the streets. That is not exactly true, because what did we talk about earlier? What did people love? They loved being Greek. It was cool to be Greek. You got trade, you got fashion, you got the games, you got business, you've got math and science and literature. You're getting a lot of really impressive stuff that the world has never really seen at this level before. And I love, Lou, that your camera is on some sort of automatic, so it follows you. Did you know that?
No, I did
It
not know
follows
that.
you, it goes in and out.
I
And
just went to get a pen. I
you
just
have
went to get a pen.
some sort of fancy camera thing. Do you guys
I'm
see
sure.
this? I'm going to put you on gallery if you want to move around a bit. We can see it just follows you, and it goes in and out of focus. It's amazing. I'm going to have our tech person do that here.
Okay.
Anyway,
I really went to get a pen.
she's a genius with technology. That's the thing.
Right.
So what we forget to tell is, one, not everybody was enamored with the Maccabees. A lot of people were like, I just want to be Greek. I'll be Greek in some sort of offshoot of Jewish, a little different. I won't be following the rules. But some people were like, I just want to stay Greek because this is great. You know, the economy's great. The market's good. The NASDAQ is up every year. And the Maccabees had to really clamp down on this feeling. And so the most famous story is that they would go into people's homes, whether it's true or not. And we'll get to you 1 second, Diana. And they would, if somebody had a new baby, a male baby, they'd break into the house. And at knife point, they'd hold the dad and the mother. And what did they do to the baby? Circumcised them. And then they left. They didn't hurt the family, then they'd leave. Because circumcision was a irrefutable mark that you were Jewish. And if you're going to the steam baths and everybody's naked, this is the Greek world. Everybody's naked all the time. They're like my son. My son is basically Greek. He's an ancient Greek. He's nude all the time. Just could care less. But if you are circumcised, that's a pretty distinctive mark that cannot be changed with the technology of the time. And so there was really some tension between the Maccabees and the other Jews living in the area. Ironically, obviously, the great irony is the Maccabees become Greek themselves. After they win, that generation and then the next generations become very Greek, very Hellenized, very assimilated, and their names are like, the kids end up with all Greek names. It's really one of those great ironies. So this is the great miracle of Hanukkah. The first miracle is that the Maccabees, which was really a small band of guerrilla fighters, was able to first push out the Assyrian Greeks from Jerusalem, and then they were able to push them out of the country over the next 20 years as well. So it's a great story, but it's an interesting story because there's so many other pieces to it that we don't discuss in Sunday school. Sunday school, the story, we kick them out. The menorah lasts for 8 days. Hooray, let's celebrate, let's party. But we know there's a lot more to the story. First of all, there we go again, Lou, coming in and out. I love it.
Really? I just
Yeah, you
sat
move
back
it.
in the chair. I
Yeah,
didn't
no, and
do
it just
anything.
focuses in on you. There it is again. It's coming out now.
Really?
That's awesome.
I
I
can't
want,
see it from
I
this
want,
end.
did you get a new camera for get a new computer?
I did get a new computer.
Yes, that's why. So anyway, I'm getting a new computer tomorrow. So let's start off with the Hanukkah story. I mean, the holiday. The reason the holiday begins is pretty clear if you look at the evidence. Sukkot is in September. Sukkot was the major holiday of the time because it was the harvest holiday, and it's the holiday of rain. And rain is more important than anything else if you're living on an agrarian society. So Sukkot is the major holiday of the day. I mean, they're all important, but Sukkot is Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah put together. So they miss Sukkot. And so what they do in December is they say, hey, we missed Sukkot. We've taken back the temple. We've reconsecrated it. We're going to celebrate Sukkot in December. And that's how the holiday of Hanukkah begins. And then eventually they say, you know what, well, let's just have a second Sukkot in December every year. And then other communities and other places like Egypt, and we have letters, we have evidence of this from, they say, should we be celebrating a second Sukkot in December? And the Maccabees say yes. So now all of a sudden we have Sukkot 1 in September and Sukkot 2 in December. But over time, things evolve because we read from Josephus that we have a holiday that celebrates the victory of the Maccabees. This is 200 years later. But what's the problem? The original holiday is not celebrating the Maccabees. The original holiday in December is what? It's Sukkot 2. So it starts off as Sukkot 2, and then 150 years later, the holiday is now called Lights, and it celebrates the victory of the Maccabees. But then 300 years later, we read in the Talmud about the miracle of the oil. The oil lasts for 8 days. They take back the temple. They don't have enough of the priestly oil. They have enough for 1 day. It lasts for 8 days, enough time for them to go and get the ingredients and make more. So the miracle of the candelabra, we don't hear about until 400 years or 500 years after the holiday itself started. So we start off, it's one time second Sukkot, then it's an every year second Sukkot in Jerusalem, then it's an every year second Sukkot everywhere, then it's the holiday called Lights, which celebrates the Maccabees, then it's the holiday called Hanukkah, which celebrates the miracle of the oil lasting for 8 days. So we have evidence of this. But the question is, why is there an evolution? Well, you have to look at what happens politically as well. The Hasmoneans become a little corrupt. And they're also part of the group known as the Sadducees later on. This is the group that's connected to the temple. They control Judaism and religion. The Sadducees, the Hasmoneans, the Maccabees, all are the same. They're in charge of the temple. They work with the Roman Empire. They are controlling the religion, which is the sacrificial cult. So they're in charge of the sacrificial cult. And then a new group of people come. They're called the Pharisees, and they want to do something different. They want to say, forget about the sacrifice. What do we want to do? We want to pray and we want to study. And these Pharisees, who do they become? They become the rabbis. And when the second temple is destroyed, the rabbis win because you can't sacrifice. So what do we do today? Do we sacrifice animals or do we go to the synagogue and pray? We go to the synagogue and pray. So the ancient rabbis won out. So now the rabbis are in charge of the religion. And they don't like the Pharisees. They don't like the Hasmoneans. I mean, they don't like the Sadducees, the Hasmoneans. They were corrupt. They were centered on this temple. We need to get away from that. So let's get rid of Hanukkah. But it's not called that. It's called lights. Let's get rid of the holiday called lights. We're just not going to do it anymore. It's a holiday on the Maccabees. We've already decided the books of the Maccabees are not going to be in the Bible. That's why the Maccabee books are not in the Bible, because the rabbis didn't want it in. Let's get rid of this holiday that celebrates the Maccabees. But what's the problem? It's not so easy to get rid of a holiday. Think about today. What happens if all the rabbis said, let's get rid of Hanukkah? What would people still probably do?
Celebrate Hanukkah.
They would still do it. They would still. So the Maccabees want to get rid of this holiday called lights, which is a big fiesta, but they can't do it because people are not rebelling probably overtly, but they like celebrating the holiday, so they're doing it anyway. So what do the rabbis do? They co-opt the holiday. And they say it's not about the Maccabees. It's about the power of God who came down and made sure the oil lamp lasted for 8 days instead of 1. It's about God and how we should believe in God. So they co-opted the holiday and kind of made it on the down low. You can still celebrate, but this is a minor holiday. Let's not make too big of a deal of it. And that's what happened to Hanukkah. It was on the down low. It became a holiday of celebrating God's power. Yeah, we remember the Maccabees. That was nice. That's nice. How it was. That was nice. They did a good job. But then that's it. So Hanukkah is a small little holiday where you give your kids some coins and you spin a dreidel and you light the candles and you have some sort of oil thing, which later became sufganiyot and latkes. And that was it. And that's how Hanukkah became Hanukkah, except that the evolution doesn't stop. Because what happens to Hanukkah is a very interesting and strange story that we've lived. Because in the 19th century, a guy named Charles Dickens writes a book called
Christmas Carol.
A Christmas Carol. A brilliant book in many ways. And it's really famous. There's movies about it. There's plays about it. And it really takes hold. Because Christmas had always been a major holiday, but it was always secondary to Easter. And then all of a sudden, Coca-Cola one day says, we're going to make a jolly Santa Claus. He's not going to be a big burly Russian, who wields an axe. We're going to give him rosy cheeks and bright red clothes, and he's going to work with elves in the North Pole. Coca-Cola didn't do all of this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start giving presents, more presents than we have before. And it's going to be a bigger holiday. And then all of a sudden Hallmark is going to start making cards. And Macy's is going to have a parade. And there's going to be lots of movies that we continue to watch every year. It's a Wonderful Life, Miracle on Whatever Street. And what's the other ones we like so much? Oh, White Christmas.
A Christmas Story.
A Christmas Story, my wife's favorite because it's filmed in her neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's her hometown. So Christmas breaks out, goes viral on a level that nobody's seen. It becomes the number one holiday celebrated in terms of merchandise in America. And of course, what America does translates to other places later on. And it probably, as we know, was very uncomfortable for all of these Jewish kids, especially the immigrants coming in from Eastern Europe who never even knew what this thing was. And then of course, our grandparents or great-grandparents or whoever it was, probably a guy named David or Shlomo, says, wait a minute. We have a holiday at the same time. It's called Hanukkah. It's a minor little holiday. Why don't we start celebrating it even more? And we're going to start giving our kids presents because they're in the Christmas plays at their school. Let's see if the school will sing I Have a Little Dreidel. And that is what happened. And our kids started getting a present. And our kids could go to school and say, we celebrate Hanukkah. We get a present for 8 days. And we're going to get chocolate gelt. We get chocolate money. It's awesome. And we're going to get presents. And we're going to have Hanukkah parties because we're going to go to Christmas parties. And we're going to invite you to our Hanukkah parties. And we're going to stick giant menorahs outside our synagogue so everybody knows it's Hanukkah. And even since, I'm 56, even since I was a little kid, Hanukkah has gotten a lot bigger because you go to Target and they have Hanukkah stuff there, even if it's a Target in a place where there are no Jews, just in case any Jews are driving through or vacationing, we're going to have some Hanukkah stuff there. Now, Hanukkah is not as big as Christmas, we know, but it empowers us to celebrate. And if Christians know one thing about Judaism, it's that we have Hanukkah. They may not know what Hanukkah is, but they know we got it.
Are there any sort of like Christmas movies, but any Hanukkah movies?
There's tons of Hanukkah movies now. They even have Hallmark Hanukkah movies, which have the exact same theme, tenure, and conclusion of every other Hallmark movie. And yes, there are Hanukkah movies. It's not as big, but there are plenty of them now. They're not as, I don't know any that are as good as, of course, one of my favorites is, what's his name? The Hebrew Hammer. It's a little off color, but a hilarious movie with every Jewish stereotype possible.
All right.
So
Sorry for having my camera off. I'm at
no
work.
worries, Diana, but that's a great question because there are Hanukkah movies out there. There's the Rugrats Hanukkah, which was really popular for many years. So Hanukkah's not as big, but we got Adam Sandler doing songs. We got the Maccabees doing parodies along with 613. If you go online, there's an incredible video I just put on our Facebook page of a guy bringing together a lot of Hanukkah songs. So Hanukkah becomes incredibly popular and is a way for us to hang out with our Christian brethren. It's really been one of the great Jewish ambassadors. But it doesn't stop there, because as I said, it spreads obviously to Europe, where now Hanukkah is a lot bigger for Jews. But what about Israel, where the largest Jewish population lives? Guess what? They start giving presents on Hanukkah too, based upon what we did here. But more importantly, why do you think Hanukkah becomes a bigger, more important holiday in Israel as time goes on? And it doesn't have to do with the merchandising that we see in America. There's another reason Hanukkah becomes a little bit more important in Israel. And that has to do with who? The Maccabees. Because what did the Maccabees do? They went into the country and they kicked out the evil person and they took control of the country, and it became Judea, a Jewish country. And what has Israel done? It's gone in and created its own Jewish country, self-determination. And so Hanukkah really resonates with Israelis because of this idea of overcoming the odds and taking back our country and winning. And so it's been a real boon for Israelis to have a holiday like this. And it's kind of like Masada. Masada is very popular in Israel because these people who are on the mountain, instead of giving in, they sacrificed their lives and said, I'm not giving in. I'd rather die than be a Roman slave. And so Hanukkah has over the years evolved incredibly, and it's been a really interesting for us because it is a holiday in which we have evidence of it outside the Bible. If you go back to the origins of Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot and Shavuos and Passover and even Rosh Chodesh, those holidays are old. They're like 1200 BCE old. Before, and we don't have any extra evidence or very minimal amount of how they celebrated, how it evolved. Whereas Hanukkah, we have evidence of the evolution of the holiday. And I'm going to show it to you right now, which is really incredible because it makes it unlike the other holidays. So if you go here, you see we have 2nd Maccabees. We kind of know when it's written, but we don't know exactly when, but pretty close. And this talks about how we're going to celebrate Sukkot for a second time. And when is it going to be? It's going to be on the 25th of Kislev, which is, guess what? The first day of Hanukkah, right? And then we have a letter written, well, when it says the year 188, that is 188 on the Egyptian calendar at the time. We have a letter written some years after the Maccabees saying, hey, should we be celebrating this second Hanukkah? And guess what? It says, yes. This is an answer to the letter. So the Egyptian Jews sent a letter to the Jews in Jerusalem. Should we celebrate this holiday, Sukkot, a second time? And they say, yes, celebrate it a second time. But then we got more evidence. We've got Josephus, the historian, the greatest Jewish historian of all time, somewhere around after the destruction of the temple, saying, hey, we have this holiday called Lights. And then we have in the Talmud, in Tractate Shabbat, because Hanukkah is not important enough to have its own tractate, but somewhere in 300-400, we don't know exactly when, we see the story about the lights, about the menorah, about the oil that lasted for 8 days. And it's incredible because we have all of this evidence, which we don't have in other holidays because they're just too darn old. Now, if we need even further evidence, there's a series of prayers called Hallel. They're mostly psalms. And you say Hallel on major holidays like Sukkot and Passover and Rosh Hashanah. But we say Hallel on Hanukkah. Even though Hanukkah is not a major holiday, it's not even a biblical holiday. Why do we say Hallel on Hanukkah? It's because probably Hanukkah used to be Sukkot. Originally, it was second Sukkot. So that's why we have Hallel on Hanukkah. So it's incredible that this holiday, which means so much to so many people, especially non-Jews, I get people saying Happy Hanukkah all the time to me. I go up to Christians now, they see my yarmulke, I say Merry Christmas, they say Happy Hanukkah. So it's really incredible how this one holiday has changed so much. So what we can do is you can go online and see a lot of this Hanukkah music, you'll see celebrities explaining Hanukkah. You'll see celebrities explaining how to spin a dreidel. So, and of course, we have been involved in this growth of the holiday season in other ways. And I'm going to show you, second, let me get it out. A list of great Christmas songs. Let me see, they can get out here for a quick. I'm gonna get it out the list for you.
They would never have them if it wasn't for Irving Berlin.
Exactly. So I'm gonna go to this PowerPoint and then show you a list of holiday songs. Okay. Then come back to you guys. Put you on share. Okay, so here is a list of, and I actually doubled up the list a little bit, sorry, of holiday songs, Christmas songs. Do you hear what I hear? Silver Bells, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Holly Jolly Christmas, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, Winter Wonderland. It's the most wonderful time of year. White Christmas, Let Snow, Let Snow, Let Snow, Winter Wonderland. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Santa Claus is coming to town. Do you know it's Christmas? And I repeated some. I've got My Love to Keep Me Warm. I'll Be Home for Christmas. The Christmas Waltz. All of them written by Jewish composers. Really, the only two major Christmas songs probably not written by Jewish composers. Anybody know what they are? One of them was written in Savannah. Jingle Bells, written just a couple blocks from here, and the other one is Silent Night. Those were not written by Jews. So we've contributed with the music. And ironically, Irving Berlin, who Ron just mentioned, and Ira or George Gershwin or Rodgers and Hammerstein, none of them wrote any Hanukkah songs for us. Unfortunately. We wish they had, but they never did. They only wrote Christmas songs. So it's kind of ironic that that is the case. So Hanukkah has become now. One of the other interesting issues with Hanukkah is the lack of issues. Let me explain. The December dilemma for Jews is a very difficult one because Jews can feel very emotionally distraught at this time of year or uncomfortable because there's this major holiday we're not part of. And our kids feeling, it was just, the first day back, December 1st from the winter break, from Thanksgiving break. What did my son come home from with school with? From art class? A Christmas tree they made. It's December 1st. They used to wait to do all the Christmas stuff until at least after Thanksgiving, but usually it was 2 weeks before. But now before Thanksgiving, we have radio stations that only play Christmas music for a month.
After Halloween.
After Halloween. And there's going to be Christmas plays. So the December dilemma for Jews is, how do we remain Jewish? How do we celebrate somebody else's holiday without it impacting our belief system? I go and if you go onto my wife did a story on my Facebook. You can do some sort of story because we only did it. My mother-in-law lives in a care facility now, so we couldn't take her a giant tree. We took her a little, a pink Christmas tree. But I took a picture. We put it on the roof of my car for a picture because in the background we played Holiday Road from Christmas Vacation. Holiday Road with a Christmas tree on my. Because in the movie, he goes out into the woods and cuts down a giant Christmas tree. Anyway, so I celebrate we're decorating, my kids decorate the Christmas tree for my mother-in-law, only breaking a couple of ornaments. They never dropped the ornaments that are the plastic ones. They only dropped
the glass
that
ones.
are the glass ones. So, it's a December dilemma for us because we have this major holiday that's not ours. And Hanukkah is nice and it's big, but it pales in comparison. Christmas is like the Hall of Fame. That's like Michael Jordan and Babe Ruth and, Tom Brady. Where Hanukkah's like, an all-state high school football team, a really good high school football team. So, but there is a December dilemma for Christians as well that we do not have at all, which is ironic. Because when I talk to my pastor friends and minister friends and priest friends and nun friends, they all have the same issue with Christmas. And what is that? What do you think their issue is? It's too commercialized.
Commercial, not religious. It's lost the
Exactly.
meaning.
This is a major holiday. Easter obviously is a little bit is bigger, is more important probably, depending, but Easter may be a little bit more important, but Christmas is their second most important holiday. It's the birth of their Messiah. So it's a very religious holiday, but it's become very much a
Commercial.
capitalist merchandising parties with alcohol holiday. If you're a Baptist minister, they're going to parties and drinking. If you're a priest, which you don't mind the drinking, obviously it's not, but they're major parties. They may go to church, they may not go to church, but it's just become all about the presents and the decorations and the parties and the commercials and the TV shows and the movies and the music on the radio and the Christmas pageants and the Christmas shows that do not have anything to do with the religion. So that's their Christmas dilemma, and it's a big one. It's something they really concern themselves with. Whereas for us as Jews, there is nothing in the Talmud that says don't over celebrate Hanukkah. It's a minor holiday. Do whatever the heck you want. We don't care. If this were Yom Kippur, we would say, oh, no, we can't do that. We're not going to have parties on Yom Kippur during the day and watch movies. No, but it's not. It's Hanukkah. It's not in the Bible. It's our fun holiday. It's really taken over for Purim as the most funnest holiday, as my kids would say. And so who cares if we celebrate it and go out and have parties? We're not missing any of the meaning. We know the meaning. They won. Hooray. So, whereas we have a December dilemma, we got to remember that our Christian clergy and some Christians also have the dilemma because of what Christmas has become and how the meaning has been lost. Easter's probably a little bit the same because you got the Easter bunny, but I think Christmas is more of a concern because their kids are more involved with Santa giving them presents than their Savior. So, and it also brings out some hilarity. I don't know if you've ever. So, I lived in San Francisco. I'm living in San Francisco, and there was something I still remember the name called Spike and Mike's Twisted Animation Festival. So you go to this thing, and it's just like 2 hours of all these animated shorts that are. Some are hilarious, some are terrible. It's just like experimental stuff. So I go with my friends there. We watch an animated short that was so funny that I fell out of my seat. I mean, you could barely stop laughing. It was like asthma attack laughing. It's one of the funniest things. It's about 4 obnoxious boys, one of them who's Jewish, and it shows the Santa Claus getting in a fist fight with Jesus.
Is the beginning of South Park?
And that is South Park. It was South Park. And just hilarious. I can only imagine what Christian theologians and pastors and ministers may think about that episode of that show. Of course, South Park makes fun of everything, but this is the first time I ever saw it. And I was literally crying. I was laughing so hard
So,
at the whole episode. But it was very inappropriate if you're in some ways. Diana, did you have a question?
yeah, that actually just reminded me of a joke I saw the other day. It said these guys all hanging out. One is a rabbi, one is a priest, and I think one is I can't remember the word, imam,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
for Muslim. And one of the priest is sees like a plate of pork and telling the Muslim and the Jew, hey, you should try this. It's really good because I can't eat pork. And then they just laugh and say, yeah, we'll try it at your wedding.
But nice. Did everybody hear the joke? Did everybody get it?
No.
The priest says, you should try the pork. And the imam and rabbi say, of course, we'll try it at your wedding. Because obviously a priest doesn't get married. Yeah. Good
Oh,
job,
okay.
Diana.
Very good.
Okay. Sorry, you had to explain it to me.
It's a good joke. It's a nice one. So at the end of the day, we hope everybody has a wonderful time for Hanukkah. It's a great way to celebrate. People have different foods. One of the foods is really interesting to me, which I teach every year. You hopefully remember latkes. Latkes, everybody, for our food festival, which I didn't get any latkes this year. I felt uncomfortable cutting the line. I don't know why. I've never felt uncomfortable doing that before. But the latkes for our food festival are easily the best latkes I've ever had. I don't like potatoes that much, and I don't like latkes, but those latkes I love. So the latke has become the food for Ashkenazic Jews, and for Sephardic, it's the sufganiyot, it's jelly donuts, right? But those are both evolved as well. The latkes are even easier to see the evolution because Europeans brought the popularity of latkes to America, really in the 19th and 20th century. However, potatoes come from the Americas. So Christopher Columbus brought, I think, the first potato to Europe, and 100, 200 years later, I forgot the number, potato becomes the staple of Europe. So we know the Maccabees did not eat latkes. We know that the Jews of the Talmudic times didn't eat latkes because they hadn't come to the Americas yet. So they had some other fried something. And sufganiyot, jelly donuts, are delicious because we all love donuts. If you don't like donuts, it probably means you're some sort of fascist communist. I don't know, but who doesn't like donuts? But donut 2,000 years ago or 1,500 years ago was not filled with jelly. It was probably filled with meat or vegetables. It was a way to keep the meat and the vegetables, or use the leftovers, or make sure they didn't go to waste. They weren't using jelly in their donuts. So even those two items, which have become so synonymous with Hanukkah, have changed. The idea of eating something with oil in it has not. They were probably eating oiled foods way back to celebrate the holiday, but not latkes and sufganiyot in the way we have them today. So that's really amazing, because basically latke. Now, as for gelt, it used to be coins that you give the kids, in times where money was tight or coins were worth something before they took away the penny, which they're doing now. But when we eventually in the 20th century, we're like, you know what? We don't want to give money to our kids. Let's give them chocolate coins because they'll appreciate it more, and it's fun, and they're not playing. So again, you can give money to Hanukkah. It's usually you put it in the tzedakah box, but gelt, when we talk about gelt today, G-E-L-T, not G-U-I-L-T, we're talking about gold coins with chocolate in it.
Mhm.
Or if you talked about gelt 300 years ago, it was actual money.
Mm.
And so that has changed as well. And as for the menorah itself, the evolution of that is very obvious. The menorah is the symbol of Judaism. I know the Star of David has become the symbol of Judaism today, and it's been around for 2,000 years, but it's only really been the main symbol of Judaism for 400, I don't know how many years, a couple of hundred years. But the menorah is the actual symbol of Judaism, because the menorah goes all the way back to the time of Moses. And we have evidence of this type of menorah because in Babylon they have a stele which has a menorah from when they destroyed the first temple. And of course the Arch of Titus in Rome depicts the menorah after they sack Jerusalem. So we know what the menorah kind of looks like. It's 3 candles with 1 candle in the middle that's a little higher. So for Hanukkah it was easy, just add 1 candle on each side, and now we've got 9 instead of 7. So that was just an easy way to make that transition from using what was the symbol of Judaism, which has been supplanted obviously by the star. So that has evolved as well, that we now have the Hanukkah as a different type of menorah. So that's just a little bit. Any questions about Hanukkah? Hope I didn't give too much information.
Yes, so I had a question.
Yes, Diane, and then we'll
Um,
go to Ron.
So for my toddler, he'll be 2 in January. What are some, and I'm sure you did this with your kids, what are some toddler friendly activities or videos? Do you know of any?
Absolutely. There's a lot of Hanukkah books, a lot of soft Hanukkah toys. You can get a stuffy, and if you need anything, let me know. We probably have them from when my kids were little. Stuffy dreidels. There's Hanukkah bears. There's Hanukkah menorahs. You can light the candles with them. For my son has a train menorah. My daughter has a ballet shoe menorah.
Oh, yeah.
You can also, if they're allowed to have chocolate at 2, probably right on the border, you can show them a little bit of piece of gelt. You can also spin the dreidel in front of them. They may not be able to take it because they may, if you don't think they swallow it, but you can show them the dreidel. You can decorate your house with blue and silver. Put the menorah up and light the candles in front of them. So there's a lot of things you can do. Now, as for music, there's plenty of music. If you go to YouTube and you write Hanukkah songs, you're going to find an incredible number. Some of them are parodies of major songs, which sometimes are the better ones, and some of them they're news, but there's tons of them. I have right here on this, I can on this sheet. Let me just go to this sheet real quick and I'll show you.
Yeah. I think your wife gave me a book about an old lady that ate a dreidel, and he loved that book.
Yeah, there's tons, and if you see here, and I'll send you this too. This is a list of some. This is just how many links do I have here? 9 links out of a million. I mean, there's so many. This is what is Hanukkah? Sesame Street, Shalom Sesame, which is Israeli Sesame Street. There's a thing on how to play a dreidel, Mayim Balak, and then there's 4. There's the small dance, which is incredible, probably my favorite of all the videos. Bohemian Rhapsody, for those of us who are Queen fans. The Maccabees doing, I forgot which one it was, and then the Star Wars. So there's tons of YouTube links to do. And I'll copy this for you, Diane, and send it to you.
Thank you.
Ron, you had a question?
No, not a question, but going back to the beginning of today, one of my therapists, when I needed it, her name was, her name was Alex, but it was really Alexandria. And strangely enough, her husband's name was Alexander.
And were they Jewish?
No. But what you said, I never thought anything of it until you just said it.
That's right.
That name is all over the place.
My dad's Hebrew name, my great-grandfather was Alexander. It is a very Jewish name these days, and that's all because of, it's amazing that that is carried over for 2,200 years, but it has. Alexander is considered a Jewish name, even though it's probably the most obvious not Hebrew name in the world. It is the most obvious Greek name ever because everybody knows Alexander the Great. So again, I hope everybody does have fun celebrating Hanukkah with their friends and family. Hopefully we have our Hanukkah party coming up, and let me give the announcements before I forget. Thank you. I finally remember to do it. So our big Hanukkah party will be on Friday, December 19th at 5:30. It is an awesome bash. We have things for kids and adults. We'll have all kinds of music, lots of different activities. Then afterwards, we'll do a service song session after we light the candles. So it should be a lot of fun. As for other things coming up, just in case you're wondering, not this Saturday, but a week from this Saturday, we're going to be having our Usher Appreciation Shabbat. So we'll thank the ushers for all they've done because they do. I mean, because of all we do here. There's the Women of Mikveh Israel Council meeting today in 30 minutes.
No, it was yesterday, wasn't it?
Is it yesterday? I had it as today, but it could have been. Yeah, it was yesterday. You're right. It was on my calendar as today, but it was yesterday. Oh, you're right. The second. Today's the third. It was the second. So please go to the Women of Mikveh Israel meeting yesterday. Make sure you get there. It's not too late to go back in time. And then for those of you interested, there is going to be, well, we'll see. There's I'm leading a civil rights trip to Alabama and Atlanta in April. We need to get 20 people to sign up. So if anybody's interested, that's going to be April. And we'll go start in Atlanta, and then we'll take a bus together to Alabama and see some of the civil rights sites. So that should be a lot of fun. So guys, again, have a wonderful Hanukkah. Let's put you on gallery view. So thank you to Michael and Eva and Ron and Arlene and Lou and David and Diana and Arnold, who are not on our screens, for joining us here on Zoom. Thank you to everybody who watched us on YouTube. Thank you to Lou's new computer for giving me an idea for getting a new automatic thing that centers my face.
I didn't even know, did it?
Ron.
Talking about the new computers, are all the computers having that camera where they follow you around?
I've never seen it before. I mean, I've seen it like in major movies, but I've never seen it. So I assume they do now. I bet. What kind of computer did you get, Lou? That doesn't reveal too much. Was it like an Apple or?
It's an Apple.
It's an Apple. Okay, so
Well, iMac or whatever it's called.
Whoever uses Macs, look out for that.
Can I ask Ron a question?
Please.
Sure.
Ron, I think there's a bridge run on Saturday. Do you take the bridge? I don't know if you're going to Temple on Saturday. Do you take the bridge
Well,
or do
you
you go around?
We avoid coming in on Saturday when they have the bridge run.
Okay.
Although I think the bridge run is over really early. I go online because it starts, I think, at 8.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not over?
Because every time we come to services when they had the bridge run,
Really?
they blocked off the Oglethorpe exit going over the bridge.
Okay, I'll go around the other way. I'll go around by the airport.
Okay, that's great. That's good to know because I thought it started
The
really
thing
early.
is that you can't get parking
Yeah.
because even after the bridge run, they're having big parties at Forsyth Park.
No.
Well, hopefully they'll be able to get some
Yeah.
parking this year. Last time we had the run, it wasn't as bad. So hopefully they're not as big as they were before COVID, but we'll see. Hopefully it won't be too bad. So, but a week from this Saturday will be the Escher Appreciation, and then the next Friday night will be our Hanukkah party. So please, if you can, join us for that. I don't know if we're going to be babysitting. Hopefully, we often babysit at First Presbyterian on December 25th, so we may set that up. I don't, because it's so funny because I have a Catholic mother-in-law now. I can't volunteer on Christmas or Easter doing the babysitting because I go see her. So, but we still do that. So everybody, have all my best. Thank you for joining us on the Wednesday class that shall not be named, and we will see you next week. So everybody, happy early Hanukkah, and have a great week.
Everybody,
Thank you.
stay well, be well, and enjoy.
Be well, guys.
Thank you.